do we still have to keep talking about Aaron Rodgers, the New York Jets? Wayne, why is this still going on?
I think this is just a gigantic game of chicken. And I think it may also have to do now with the fact that I believe June 1st, if the Packers don't move Rodgers before June 1st, the cap hit goes from like 40 million to 15 million. So maybe there's just some finagling there, and the Jets have kind of said, look, I mean, originally the Packers were like, oh, you're going to have to give us 2 first-round draft picks. And they're like, what? We're not giving you, not only is he 39 years old, he doesn't want to be there. We're not giving you 2 first-rounders. Then it was like, well, maybe it's a first-rounder. No, we're not giving you a first-rounder either, right? Um, the discussion, I guess, becomes when you get to the second round this year, I think the Jets have 2 second-round picks. Or is it like I know where you're going with this. San Francisco has jumped into the discussion in the last week or two. I Why? I don't understand. Like, I mean, I guess if you can go get Aaron Rodgers for a year, but then are you just absolutely saying, well, Trey Lance is done? We're finished with him. Brock Purdy can sit on the bench for another year. That's no problem. And Darnold doesn't cost you a lot of money. But I mean, if they could get him for, I see the things I'm being banding about, I think are a second this year and a first next year, or a second next year that could become a first. I guess if you win the Super Bowl and the first is the 32nd overall pick in the first round, you don't care, right? I still think it's going to be the Jets. I think the Jets are going to get this done. I think well, we've waited this long. We'll go to the draft. We'll see what happens there. Maybe we make the move there, or maybe we wait until June 1st and it saves the Packers a whole bunch of money. And maybe that's part of the agreement is that, look, we have a deal in principle, right? And that the pick won't actually be from this year's draft, but because you're waiting, we're going to give you a first rounder next year for the Jets, and you're saving us 25 million, or maybe it's less. Sorry, it should be the other way around. So you're saving us 25 million on the cap by not making the deal until June 1st, and instead of 2 seconds, we're going to take a third or 2/3 or something like that, right? So I think that has to be what it is. I mean, the Packers certainly don't want him back now. I mean, and Rodgers doesn't want to be there. So at some point, you're going to have to either take pennies on the dollar or something's already happened here. I still think it's the Jets.
And you don't think Zach Wilson's going to be in that trade? I guess with Jordan Love being there, they don't really have much use for him, and I don't know if they want him.
I think want and good idea are two different things here, right? Do I think that the Packers would want Zach Wilson back if they could get him as part of the trade? Yeah, I think they would want him. Does it send the right message to Jordan Love that we're going to bring Zach Wilson in right when we said we're fine with riding with you? Probably not. But you can't base your future of your team. The other thing is that you bring Zach Wilson in and say Love isn't ready, and Wilson comes in and plays pretty well, but you still think Love's your guy. Now you flip him later on, right? And you get something else back for him there. I just don't see that, though. I don't think the Packers would be. I don't think they would be interested in taking him back in that deal. I just think it upsets the apple cart more than there's a lot of problems there right now to start with. Although, that team is still pretty good, right? Even with Jordan Love, or if it was Zach Wilson or whoever the hell else it was, they're still okay. I just, from a purely personnel standpoint, I'm not done with Zach Wilson. But I was never sold on him in the first place as like that guy. I just don't think so, right? I'm more of a believer in Sam Darnold than I am in Zach Wilson. So,
and that's where you take a look at Sam Darnold going to the San Fran, and third overall to the Jets in 2018. Zach Wilson second overall 2021. Now they're going to get Aaron Rodgers. Why can't they put this thing together? Is it just bad luck? Is it bad coaching? What's your thinking of why with their quarterback mismanagement, I guess?
Well, in Sam Darnold's case, that was a terrible coaching staff. Their offense was horrendous. And he had very little around him. I mean, they were terrible, right? The offensive line was terrible. They just were bad. And then on top of that, you have a bad offensive coordinator and a bad head coach. So I don't blame Darnold for much of that. And like I said, I'm betting on Darnold being the starter for the 49ers week one because Purdy is not going to be ready. And I don't think Lance is going to be ready either, frankly. I know they're saying they think he's going to be ready, but I just think they're going to look at him and go, you know what? We're going to take it easy on this. We'll put Darnold in for 2 or 3 weeks. That team doesn't, that's kind of the issue to me is that team doesn't need Trey Lance. That team doesn't need a guy. They don't need a quarterback to run the ball. They have McCaffrey. They have Elijah Mitchell. They have a good wide receiving core. They have Kittle. I mean, they have a really good defense too. Sam Darnold is perfect for that offensive scheme. This was made for him. If he gets a chance to start, I've been picking up his rookie cards when I can and putting them away because I think he's going to start for 3 or 4 weeks and he's not going to be Pat Mahomes, right? He's not going to throw for 5 touchdowns, but I think he's going to win those games and he's going to be pretty darn good. And people are going to go, oh my God, Sam Darnold's found it. And they're like, no, Sam Darnold never lost it. He had it the whole time. He was being used improperly and he didn't have a good team around him. When you put the team around him and you play to Sam Darnold's strengths, he's a really good quarterback. And I'm really excited for him. It's only a 2-year deal. Do I think the question then becomes, let's say Darnold goes out and goes 3-1 or 4-0. Now Lance is healthy or Purdy's healthy. What do you do? Right? Do you replace Darnold with Purdy? Do you replace him with Lance? I mean, if you replace Darnold with Purdy, it's not that big of a change in terms of how you're running the offense. You replace Darnold with Lance, that's a totally different offense, right? Because Lance is going to want to run the ball, and that's not wouldn't be the focus while Darnold and Purdy was under center, right? So, and now you talk about, okay, well, now we're into all that. We're going to throw in the possibility that the 49ers are going to talk to Aaron Rodgers. Well, I don't know. I don't know that I agree with it unless you're getting him at a very good price. And like a second is a good price. And then who fits the San Francisco system better than Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers would be fantastic there. He wouldn't have to run at all. He didn't have to worry about mobility or anything. Hand the ball off a bunch of times. He would be great there. So I get why they're talking about it. I just, man, if you're Trey Lance, and especially if you're Trey Lance, you got to be looking at that and going, the hell, man. Like, you drafted me, you moved up to get me. And it's not his fault that he's been hurt, right? But here I'm coming off this, and I think he understands I got to, play my way into the position. But, oh, by the way, we're going to go get Aaron Rodgers, and he's our quarterback for 2 years. And so,
yeah, I don't see Aaron Rodgers in San Fran, especially now that their nose there. Tom Brady's obviously not coming, although he would be a great fit. If you are a betting man and you have to bet coming in the playoffs in the NFL this year, 2023, 2024, who's going to be the starting quarterback for the 49ers if you have to put your money down right now? Looking in your crystal
ball. In the playoffs? Brock Purdy.
Agreed. Done.
Yeah.
If you're also betting man, what jersey is Lamar Jackson going to be wearing this year?
None.
I was going to say a Gucci suit doesn't count, but
yeah, I actually think there's a pretty good chance that he sits the year out. And this is all his doing. Like, this is just dumb, right? Look, you want to be disenchanted with the Baltimore Ravens? I get it, right? They have not done a whole lot to help him out in terms of bringing in good talent and things like that. But to go out and, basically at the moment that Jim Harbaugh is going to be speaking at the owners' meetings and the NFL meetings and tweet, oh, yeah, I asked for a trade on the second and this is not my fault and whatever else. I mean, and Harbaugh said all the right things in the conference. Oh, we love him. He's still under contract and all this stuff. If he had made some sort of decision 2 months ago and said, look, hey, where the hell is he going to go now? You're basically down to Indianapolis, and Indianapolis is going to draft a quarterback. So they probably don't want Lamar. They don't want to sign a long-term deal. Washington? Is Washington a good fit for Lamar Jackson? I mean, I don't have anything against Lamar Jackson as a football player. He's an amazing athlete, a great quarterback. Well, I don't want to say he's a great quarterback. He's a great athlete, right? But sometimes that's, if you build the system around that guy, Lamar Jackson, he was an MVP, right? He's a fantastic football player. Um, you build the system around him, you're probably going to make the playoffs. But does Washington, especially in the ownership change and all this kind of stuff, want to commit that kind of money in a guaranteed contract? Probably not. Atlanta, I don't know why they're not going after Lamar Jackson. He would seem to fit their team. They seem to be kind of invested in Desmond Ritter, but and I know it's money too, right? But I think a lot of it just has to do with, I think teams looked at this and looked at kind of the question about why didn't he play in a couple of games over the last couple of years and said, so, the Ravens thought you were going to play in the last week of the season and then you didn't. And then you come out and you kind of crap all over the franchise, well, whether it's deserve it or not. And now you want us to give you $200 million and guarantee all of it. No, I don't think so. We'll go draft Anthony Richardson or we'll draft somebody else and we'll deal with that, right?
I just don't get it on any level, honestly. I think the best fit was staying put, just figure out a way to make the monies work. It's good amount of money, security. I know it's not all guaranteed, but 50 million of it, 100 million of it's guaranteed, whatever. Something along the line. I have a feeling this got very personal. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, Deshaun Watson gets his contract given who he was. I would think that he can match that contract. I think that's what he's thinking, but I don't see any movement on there. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's not playing as well. So let's see how time tells on that one.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing that in a league that never has enough starting quarterbacks, a guy who clearly is in the top 10 at the very minimum of quarterbacks in the NFL, and probably the top 5 if you're playing him in a system that plays to his strengths, is has a real good shot of just sitting on the sidelines for an entire year, right? And it also just shows you how incredibly stupid that Deshaun Watson contract was. Like, that was just ridiculous, flat out dumb, right? So
Might as well just sign Johnny Manziel while you're at it.